Why aren't you Masters? It's hard to pinpoint what exactly is holding you back from Masters. Every player is different, so the reasons vary from player to player. However, I have noticed that there are 8 main reasons why most players can't get Masters. Trust me, it's not your teammates holding you back. With this guide, I want to go more in depth than other Masters guides on YouTube, and I feel like there's a lot of things that other people have not talked about that I want to talk about today. Keep in mind, I'm not a pro player, not a world champion. Some of you guys might even be better than me, but I think that this guide will still provide a lot of value for you guys. Me myself, I've gone Masters 6 times to date, which should be worth something at least. Also, I don't want to shamelessly self-plug, but if you guys find this guide helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. And if you have any feedback for the video, or if you want to see any other guides, let me know in the comments. But anyway, enough with that, let's just get into the video. The very first issue that I want to talk about is a really big one that a lot of people share, myself included, and that is a bad mentality. It is frustrating when you're playing ranked and you get a teammate who doesn't know what they're doing. They play with their toes, they are blindfolded, and for all you know, they could literally just be in the other room and it could be a bot playing for them. We've all had that feeling of a bad random throwing your game. But I do see a lot of people become hyper fixated on their teammates and they blame them for literally everything. Sure, sometimes it's their fault, but for as many times as they play bad, they can play good as well. And you're not the perfect player either. You make mistakes as well, and you can be the bad random. Just focus on yourself, honestly. That's the biggest tip I would give. Because the people that just blame their teammates get themselves tilted, which makes them play worse, and then they lose more and more on a never-ending cycle where they don't take a mental reset because they need to get back their points. I speak from my own experience, by the way. Try not to let the teammates get to you, and just take a break if you're tilted. There's this rule I like to listen to that I saw from this guy called Last Second. It's called the 3-game rule or something like that. And basically, if you lose 3 games in a row, just get off the game and take a break. Or if you begin to feel tilted, just stop playing. Main thing I'm saying here is just stop focusing on your teammates and focus on yourself. And if you get tilted, take a break. Focusing on yourself will help you improve faster, and you'll catch a lot more things that you otherwise wouldn't notice if you're blaming your teammates. Because at the end of the day, you being angry and attacking your teammates, clown pinning them, whatever you do, it just makes you and your team as a whole play worse, which leads to more losses. Anyway though, speaking of teammates, the next thing I wanted to talk about was playing with your team regarding lanes, playing numbers, and pinches. If you don't know what those are, that's fine. I'll explain each one of them for you guys. First of all, playing numbers. This is probably like the most basic thing. Basically, if you didn't know, in Brawl Stars, whenever your team is up in a 3v2, 2v1, whatever it is, whenever your team is up in numbers, the team with more numbers almost always wins. They can play with each other by trading each other out, by isolating opponents, etc. But how do I get up in numbers and how do I isolate kills if I am up? This is where pinching comes in. It's a relatively basic skill, but I see a lot of people don't do it. Basically, the premise of it is you play with your team and you and your teammates can shoot at an opponent from different angles or lanes. We'll talk about those in a bit, to try pick off kills. I see a lot of lower ranked players play their games like it's solo showdown, and they'll ignore opportunities to pinch opponents, but pinching is really important. It can turn the tides of a battle. So for example, if you're at a stalemate in a 3v3, you can convert into a 3v2 and you'll be winning. But anyway, speaking of lanes, I'm going to talk about those now. They're a little bit complex, but I'll try to explain it in simple terms for you guys. Lanes. There's 3 lanes on every single map in Brawl Stars, and you always want to send one person on each lane. Mid, left, and the right respectively. Each person will fight their respective lane. Typically, who's good on said lanes changes from map to map in the draft, but you learn that with time. So anyway, why do I need to take lanes separately? Why can't I just stack? Well, stacking on one lane can lead to you and your team getting pinched from several different lanes, kind of like how I mentioned before, and you don't want to be the one getting cooked. Also, if one of your teammates or you lose lane, you could also end up getting pinched by the opponents. So try not to, at the very least, die or lose too much lane, otherwise the opponents will have a massive advantage in the team fight. But what if you have a bad matchup on your lane? What do you do then? Well, in the beginning of the game, you can see which lane everyone goes on. Or well, sorta. For example, here, this guy is closest to the left lane, this guy mid lane, and this guy right lane. and you can switch to a good matchup before even seeing the opponents. Though at the same time, they can switch themselves, so sometimes it is somewhat of a mental game in the beginning, but most of the time though, people will just stack or they'll go to the lane they're closest to. But what if it's past the start already and you have a horrible matchup? In that case, that's where lane switching comes in. If you can communicate with your teammates, you can switch lanes with them for a better matchup for yourself or for them. Normally, I like to switch lanes after I die or if I'm pushed back, so there's little downtime as possible on holding lanes. If you can't communicate with your teammates, normally just walking onto their lane or the lane that you want to take will get them to move to the empty lane that you left, even if they don't know what lane switches are. Try to be mindful of your teammates though, because sometimes you might get a better lane, but they can get completely railed. So sometimes you might just need to take the L and deal with it. Lanes are really important in Brawl Stars, but I even see some Masters players not really knowing what to do with them sometimes. Alright, now this next tip is something I see so many people mess up, and that is aggression. So you might be a little bit confused by what I'm saying when I say aggression, so let me explain. Basically, a lot of people struggle with knowing when to play aggressive because I see a lot of people running it down in the beginning of a match and instantly feeding a bunch of super and dying or feeding whatever it is while not accomplishing anything themselves. And as I mentioned before, dying and being down numbers in the beginning means you basically lose the team fight. Brawl Stars is most of the time a passive game where you just play around walls, play safe to not die. And keep in mind, this isn't me saying to sit back and be a pussy all game. I do see some people do this as well, but you need to find a balance between playing passive and playing aggressive, because there are times to be aggressive and to die. For example, if you get safe damage, if you get a brawl ball goal, if you get gems in gem grab, if you get supercharged for supers, you need to win the game to get kills, etc, etc. But what I'm saying is don't always just go in and don't play aggressive for nothing. There should be a reason that you die if you do die, because otherwise you're kind of throwing. And now a little general tip I would give to everyone is that small things matter. Pause. Hold on, wait, what? But anyway, when I say this, going back to what I've said a few times now, your life does matter a lot. So try not to die. Also, things like 1 gem and gem grab matter. Blue star, every star in bounty, ball possessions and goals in brawl ball, supers and hypercharges that you and your team have or the opponents, and every percentage in heist and hot zone. Small things with objective and things around you and your team really do matter, but a lot of people do disregard them. For example, when your teammates have 1 gem and gem grab, they'll go in and die and think it's not a big deal when it really is. Or in overtime in brawl ball, we pass the ball to the opponents, which can just lead to us getting shit on. Small things do matter, especially in higher levels of games, because those small things can really win or lose games. Next up is draft. This is definitely going to take a while. Draft is one of the most intricate parts of the game and definitely one of the most confusing parts for many players, but I will try to condense the most important things about draft for you guys. So there's a few things to understand about drafting. There's drafting brawlers for lanes, understanding interactions between brawlers, banning brawlers, and picking brawlers during draft, and other miscellaneous tips at the end. So we'll start with drafting brawlers for lanes. So for starters, as I mentioned before when I was talking about lanes, you want to draft 1 mid lane brawler and 2 brawlers for side lanes. Again, who's good on these lanes depends from map to map, but you should be going for 2 side lane brawlers and 1 mid lane. Sometimes I see people with 3 side lanes, so they cannot win mid lane and then they end up getting railed. For example, on Hard Rock Mine, if we have Surge, Gale, and Chester, whom are all side lane brawlers because they don't have the range to really fight the mid, we have no mid lane, and if the opponents do have a good mid lane, so for example, they have like Gus, Byron, Gian, we will 90% of the time get cooked. The same thing applies to having too many mid lanes as well, so 2 or more. Though having more mid lanes, I'd say, is definitely a little bit better than having too many side lanes. Either way though, you don't want to have too many of each type of lane, so just keep 1 mid lane brawler and 2 side lane brawlers. Keep in mind, like, a side lane brawler is normally like a short range brawler. Brawlers without like super amazing control capabilities. I'd say a mid lane brawler is like a brawler that can support the team. They have control capabilities, etc, etc. So like Jesse, for example, Gus, Byron, those kinds of brawlers. But anyway, you should be keeping this in mind during draft. Alright, now I want to talk about understanding brawler matchups. The way these interactions are best summarized is through a funky rock, paper, scissors analogy. Basically, most of the time, we'll say like rocks is like tanks and assassins, Paper is tank counters, high DPS brawlers, and scissors is snipers, throwers, low DPS brawlers. So basically, tanks and assassins will normally beat snipers and throwers or low DPS brawlers. With aggression, they'll just run over them. And then those tanks and assassins are countered by tank counters, whom have high DPS to just shred them. And then those tank counters and high DPS options are countered by those snipers and throwers. And those brawlers will normally have walls to throw over or like a range advantage or something like that. Anyway though, back to why I said most of the time, there are exceptions to this rule. Like for example, on long range maps like Shooting Star, Hideout, you know, your knockout bounty maps, snipers will normally almost always be used. Or on very bushy maps, tanks and tank counters you'll see mostly. But generally, this is how matchups go on most maps. Also, sometimes there are like different matchups within these character archetypes. So, for example, some tank counters beat other tank counters, some tanks beat some tanks, some snipers beat some snipers. But generally, this is how matchups go. Now I want to talk about first picks, late picks, and everything in between. I want to give some tips on when you should pick certain brawlers. So, normally with first pick, you want to pick a brawler good on the map and versatile in matchups, and as such the second and third pick are meant to counter the first pick, but also the two brawlers that are picked to counter should be a little bit diverse so then they don't get countered by the fourth and fifth pick. Fourth and fifth pick are meant to counter second and third, but also to round out the team with the first pick's comp. Then that way they don't get cooked by arguably the most important pick, the last pick, where basically the opponents can pick anything to potentially find something that the opposing team will not want. And yeah, normally I do see people mess up first pick the most. So keep in mind, before you do pick a brawler, ask yourself, can I easily be countered? If the answer is yes, maybe reconsider your pick. If not, then go ahead. As of when I'm uploading this, I can confidently say that some good first picks, depending on the map, that you might see are Chester, Jesse, Jean, Gus, etc. Basically, they should be generally winning most matchups, and they're just solid brawlers to have. Later on in the draft, you can go for more counterable brawlers that you wouldn't want to go early in the draft. So when I think of these, at the time I'm uploading this, it can be like Edgar, Daryl, Mortis, Barley, Larry, and Kit to name a few, just because these brawlers have a lot of counters. Also, regarding bans, if you have first pick, you want to ban brawlers that might counter your first pick, and if you have second pick, you want to ban those versatile first picks. Anyway, going into some miscellaneous tips, try not to stack up on two of the same type of brawler when you're drafting. I did talk about this a little bit before. So for example, if my opponent first picks a tank and our team picks two tank counters, try to make sure they do have diverse matchups so you don't get cooked by a common weakness. Some other things, just don't instantly pick a brawler. You know, you can give the team a little bit of time to think about a brawler, and you never know, you could end up finding something better. Just be a little bit patient, please. And also, something that really irks me in ranked is when people spam suggest a brawler. If you're one of those people, just suggest a brawler once and that's it. Spamming a suggestion just makes me want to pick something else because it's so annoying. And now, lastly, a little extra thing that can be good to understand sometimes is brawler synergies and what I call not synergies. So there's many different brawler synergies where two brawlers complement one another really well. For example, RT and Jean, like over here in this clip, where RT mark can be triggered by Jean attacks, and Jean can pull opponents into RT super to easily get kills. Another example that you might know of is Kit and a tank, where Kit just jumps on a tank to heal them a ton. You can go for these sometimes in draft, or keep them in mind, knowing that the opponents can go for them as well. And you can try to take a brawler to stop their synergy. But for me, what's more important, in my opinion, is what I call not synergies. I know, a really original name. Basically, for me, a not synergy is when your teammate picks something that just cucks over your teammates. So I'll give you an example. If on a Wally map, both my teammates, like they pick like a thrower or a short range brawler, don't pick a wall breaker to open up the map. That will ensure that they just don't have a good time. Also, forgot to mention, wall breakers are brawlers that can relatively easily open up the map, by the way. So Gray, Stu, Colt, Frank, Brock are all examples. And a tip for wall breakers, I would generally recommend breaking walls on your side of the map, but not on the opponent's. Breaking open your side allows your team to move more freely, and by opening your opponent's walls, it does the same for them, which you don't want. But oh my god, now we're finally through with the draft section. That actually took a long time, but at least we're done. Or actually, we're not entirely out of the woods. I just wanted to talk really quickly about brawler pools because a lot of people mess this up as well. So don't only power up one type of brawler, so like only assassins, only tanks. That's what I see a lot of new players do, but it also applies to other archetypes. For those without the luxury of upgrading all your brawlers, a good brawler pool I would recommend would be having one thrower, 1 or 2 snipers, 1 tank, 1 assassin, and 1 or 2 tank counters. So for example, I power up Barley, Piper, Byron, Buster, Daryl, Chester, and Surge, and I'd consider that a pretty good brawler pool with both depth and good brawlers. Also, focus one brawler to power 11 at a time and don't spread resources across multiple brawlers. Being underleveled sucks in ranked, and I'd rather quality over quantity in my brawlers. Just go for power 11s, and also make sure your brawler pool is like diverse and deep. Alright, we're almost at the end, but before we get into what I think is probably the biggest tip I could give, I want to talk about something a little bit smaller, which is ammo counting. If you watch some of these types of guys, you've probably already watched several others that have mentioned ammo counting, but I'm still going to cover it either way. If you don't know, ammo counting is basically counting how much ammo your opponents expend. So why is this important? On assassins mainly, waiting for your opponents to spend their ammo can tell you that you have a window to go in. Otherwise, you'll get railed if they do have full ammo, like you'll just get gunned down. But also keep in mind, this doesn't apply to just assassins. So for example, if you're playing a sniper on a sniper map, if your opponents waste all of their ammo, you can go up while they're reloading. Basically, just counting ammo can tell you when you should go up. Like it can show you some opportunities. Alright, the last thing that I want to talk about, arguably the most important thing that I'll be covering today, is simply put, to just play the game. It's a simple thing, but a lot of people when they're trying to improve just forget about it. Playing the game and getting in games will inevitably help you get better for many reasons. It'll help your game sense a ton, and although it sounds geeky, it'll help you understand damage amounts, health, supercharge rates, etc. for a lot of brawlers, which will change so many interactions for you. Your mechanics will get better, your draft will get better, etc. Just play the game. And also one thing I wanted to add, though playing the game does help you improve, you can improve even faster by VOD reviewing. You can see mistakes in your gameplay that you otherwise wouldn't see mid-game while you're playing in the moment. And also, the brawlers you play can help you improve as well. So, just keep that in mind. So instead of playing your low skill or easy to play brawlers like Jackie, Miko, Jean, etc., consider picking up brawlers that take more mechanics to master and like more skills such as Buster, positioning, Max for your mechanics, also Gray for your mechanics, just to get better movement, aim, positioning, and to more quickly become better at the game. Anyway though, that's the video. But before you guys do go though, if you enjoyed the guide and or you found it helpful, I'd appreciate it if you guys subscribed. It took me a really long time to make this video, and if you have any feedback for me or anything like that, let me know in the comments. Also, feel free to join the Discord server as well down in the description if you want. And one more thing actually, when the new rank season comes out, I want to try a Gus only to Masters push. So if you guys are interested in that, maybe I'll be streaming when this comes out or something. So come check me out. Anyway, that's it. Bye.